reason the arrow I was thinking about was the arrow from cost of goods sold to the income statement.
Is
Erica,
there a right answer for what's your favorite arrow, though?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was just kind of a slightly random question to get you to think about an arrow, and then we were going to talk about that particular arrow. And so I'm not even going to ask you why that might be your favorite. You know, you can. You're welcome to have that as your favorite. I've never asked that question before, and it seemed like a good way to just talk about arrows. You know? Right, Erica? Do you have a favorite that's different than that?
The cost of goods manufactured.
Cost of goods manufactured, where's that at?
The outside of working process to the inside of finished goods.
Okay. She thinks of them as outside and inside, which if it works for her, that is absolutely fine. I just think of it as the out of work in process to the in of finished goods. I guess that fits, though. You're outside, inside. Is that how you get that? Yeah. Outside of work in process? That's okay. That's interesting. I've not encountered that. But it works perfectly, right? The outside of work in process to the inside of finished goods. Okay. Shar? Do you have a favorite arrow?
This one.
ACOG. Do you know what that stands for? Adjusted.
Cost of goods sold.
Adjusted cost of goods sold. And where does that go? What account does it debit and what account does it credit?
Credit, cost of goods sold, debit, income summary.
Credit, cost of goods sold, debit, income summary or income statement. Exactly right. Tony, adjusted cost of goods sold, what's it adjusted for? Close, you're warm. You're on the right ballpark. Not quite on the right base yet. I'm sorry? No. Yes. Can you help him, Scott? Yes, it is over or under applied manufacturing overhead. So you were very warm with your first answer. So it's adjusted for over or under applied manufacturing overhead, okay? How do you calculate applied manufacturing overhead, Josh?
Applied manufacturing overhead, you take, that's a really good question.
Thank you, sir.
PDOR times your actual activity.
PDOR times actual activity equals applied. What's PDOR stand for, Alex?
Predetermined overhead rate.
Predetermined overhead rate. How do we calculate a predetermined overhead rate, Christy? She thinks that's a good question, too. I am sure it is.
Estimated cost or estimated activity?
Yes, estimated manufacturing overhead divided by estimated activity equals what, Christy?
PDOR.
PDOR, which stands for what?
Predetermined.
Predetermined overhead rate, okay? And so it's the difference between what and what that calculates. What goes on the debit? Let me ask this question. What goes on the debit side of the manufacturing overhead account? Laura? What goes on the actual? What goes on the credit side, Stephanie? What's the journal entry, Michael, to recognize applied manufacturing overhead?
I have no idea.
Oh, follow the arrow brick road.
I remember that though. It's gonna go into the cost of goods sold.
No, it is not. Over and under applied. Over and under applied goes to cost of goods sold. Applied manufacturing overhead goes to which account? Work in process. So write that entry.
What?
So that's the entry I'm asking you for. Into work in process, out of manufacturing overhead. And he's on the spot, so his brain, your brain stops functioning, you know, when you are on the spot. And everybody feels sympathy for it, you know, for you, because everyone's experienced it. Victoria, do you know the answer? You've had the opportunity to think about it now, not on the clock. The journal entry.
Oh, it's a debit to work in process, credit to manufacturing overhead.
Absolutely. See, it's much easier for her though, because she was, you know, she thought about it while she wasn't, you know, didn't have Dr. Fessler kind of staring at her, and, you know, and so, So, Michael, what's that journal entry now? Victoria, tell them.
Debit work in process, credit manufacturing overhead.
Okay. So that's follow the arrow brick road. Okay. So that applied manufacturing overhead is the number that's going to. Taylor, are you just distracting her?
Actually, I'm
Why is she? But Heidi is blushing more than Taylor is, and so that does suggest just a touch of guilt. Oh, heavens. Where are we at here? Tia Kens, so anyway, let me see. How does Perry Mason define activity-based costing, Matthew? The case of many PDORs. This he knew. So activity-based costing is many PDORs rather than one. What is strange about process costing? Although Christy, the first thought Christy had was everything. TJ, what's strange about process costing? Me neither. Oh, no, that's actually activity-based costing. We do calculate costs by department rather than by, what page is that on, that graph that's got everything on it? The one that's got all three. There are 3 ways to answer the question, how much does it cost? Job order costing, process costing, activity-based costing. I gave you a chart. What page? Page 138. That would be a good page to be familiar with. I think that would be a good page to be familiar with when you are studying for the exam. So here we have the 3 costing methods, and we also have what kinds of products we might use those 3 costing methods for. That would be a good page to think about. Back to TJ. What is strange? What is strange about process costing? Yeah, we do use it for similar products. What part of the calculation of per unit cost is kind of weird or different? Did I draw anything on the board? Did I draw anything on the board for process costing, TJ? I believe I did. What page? Page 224, TJ. What happened to your 3-ring binder?
No, well, each test, I take out all the notes and I put them all in one. I study those, and now it's all,
It's a mess.
yeah. I'm missing like the first part, first test.
That is equivalent units. So what's the picket fence helping us learn about?
All work, and it's done.
Yeah, but that's a definition of what? Equivalent units. So what's straight? That's really one of the possible answers for the question. What is weird about process costing? You got to utilize this notion of equivalent units. Okay, and then there's 2 ways to calculate equivalent units. I saw her distracting you this time, Taylor. There are 2 ways there are 2 ways that you need to know how to calculate equivalent units. Can you name one of them, Catherine?
Weighted average.
Weighted average method, and what's the other method, Angie? FIFO. Okay, so 2 different ways. How am I doing here on the review? We got it going. Budgeting, just follow the directions. Yeah, I'm sorry it took me so long to actually teach you this stuff this semester. We could learn so much more if we could go at this pace throughout the semester. Don't you think? So budgeting, follow the directions. Ethics, remember the first assignment. And we'll see you all on Thursday.